Hey, what's up guys, Nick here, and before you comment that yes, I know that intro was absolutely terrifying, but I wanted to show just how disturbing and terrifying the flood are. What's that? Do you hear that sound? Is that coming from behind my monitor? Hello? Anyone? I'm good. I didn't get infected, okay? Everyone calm down. Okay, it's not every day that you get attacked by a flood form whenever you're making a video, but as I was saying, the flood are terrifying. They'll come out of nowhere, they'll turn you into this massive, terrifying creature. So, luckily, I think I'm okay. I'm fine, don't worry about me. But today's video is going to be me talking about the flood and why I think they should most definitely return in future Halo games. Okay, so before I start talking about why I want the flood to return, let's go back a little bit and see where we last got to fight them. So there's two ways we could look at this. The first one is in an FPS game, or a shooter game, which was Halo 3, which came out coming up on 11 years ago. That is the last FPS Halo game that we got to fight the flood in, which is absolutely insane. The last time we actually got to shoot them was over a decade ago, which is just crazy to think about. Halo 3 was my first ever Halo game, and I remember playing the flood missions for the first time and just being terrified. Like, I was scared out of my mind. I was like, what are these little alien creatures running at me? Why do they want to jump on me? What are they doing to these Marines? As you can see in the intro clip, they completely distort and completely ruin Marines' bodies. So they were terrifying to look at in a first-person shooter game. The most recent time we've got to fight the flood was in Halo Wars 2 DLC Awakening the Nightmare, where the flood return and you actually got to fight them. But Halo Wars is a very different type of game compared to the FPS Halo games, so it's not really the same. It is cool to see them back in the Halo franchise, and there were some amazing blur cutscenes for the flood as well, which was some of the coolest flood related things that I've ever seen. So that was really awesome. So the last time we saw the flood was actually last year in 2017, so maybe that marks that they're returning. Maybe they're making some kind of comeback, or maybe 343 just wanted to be like, hey, the flood still exists out there, we just want to show them a little bit. So here they are in Halo Wars 2. So in reality, the last time we saw the flood was not that long ago, so who knows what that means for the future. Hopefully it means very good things for the future of Halo games if you want to see the flood return, but you never know. It could have just been in there in Halo Wars 2 as a little, hey, we know you like the flood, so here they are for a little bit in this Halo Wars 2 game. Now, I want to touch on again what I thought of the flood in the past games, and this will hopefully give you more of an idea of why I want to see them return so much. So, as I said, when I was younger, Halo 3 was my first Halo game. First time fighting the flood, it was terrifying. It was something that I've never really experienced in a first-person shooter game because they were so aggressive, they were terrifying, the noises they made were just disgusting but really awesome at the same time, if that makes sense. They were a super unique enemy that I just never seen before, because they would come up to Marines and turn the Marines, your friends, your allies, they would turn them against you into these horrifying creatures that would then try and kill you themselves. So it was really interesting. It was very different. It was just kind of a scary experience. Now, something that recent Halo games have been missing, in my opinion, is a dark and gritty side to them. Back in Halo 3, the flood added this real scary element to the game. It was a fun shooter game. Had the Covenant, the Elites, and the Arbiter, and the Master Chief, being this badass. Then you had the flood, who seemed like this unstoppable force that just came at you over and over and over again. There was nothing that could stop them. One of my favorite things about the Halo 3 campaign was kind of the parts where you looked past the main mission. If you kind of looked around the map or the missions, you would see some extra things. For example, I very vividly remember there's this Marine in one of the Halo 3 missions who looks terrified, who's scared out of his mind. He's cowering in a corner. His entire team or squad has been killed off, and he's just left by himself, and he has no idea what to do. And it's just the most interesting dynamic to a mission ever, and it's just really cool to see, and it's something I really miss as well.
I can see it crawling, sliding around beneath their skin. Oh. And then they got up, started to talk. Oh God, their voices. Oh God, no, make them stop.
The idea of running into battle against these enemies that if they catch one of your Marines off guard, they would just take them over and turn them against you. And I don't know about you guys, I don't know if that was just something that I did when I was younger, but I would get really attached to the Marines that I was playing with in the campaign missions. I would give them the best weapons, I would make sure none of them died. If any of them died, I would literally restart to the last checkpoint to try and save them, to make sure they didn't die. I would become really close with them, and if one of them got killed or turned into a flood form or something in Halo 3, I would feel awful. I would feel so bad, and it would be the worst feeling ever. So the flood gave me that terrifying feeling of losing one of my teammates, one of my Marine friends in the mission to one of them, because I obviously don't want my Marine to turn into that. So the flood definitely gave a whole new dynamic to the game that I really feel is missing in Halo games these days. As I said, Prometheans to me are kind of boring. It's, you know, it's just how it is. Maybe you guys think differently. Let me know in the comments if you love the Prometheans. Maybe you do, that's completely fine. But for me personally, I just am not the biggest fan of them, especially compared to the flood. I also loved how you had so many different types of flood. You had the little ones that crawled along the ground at you, which were super easy to kill. It took one shot to blow them up and they were done with, but there would be so many of them. It would be like, okay, these are all jumping at me at the same time. I need to deal with them ASAP. And then you have the massive lurking ones that are just basically big tank flood forms who would just charge at you and try and take you out. So there was loads and loads of different variants of flood forms to deal with, whereas Prometheans are all kind of the same. You know, you have the flying ones that heal them, you have the knights, you have the Warden Eternal. There's a couple others here and there, but for the most part they're all pretty much the same. So flood definitely have a bit more of a dynamic to fighting them. There's a bit more of a wide variety of them to fight against. Now, how can the flood make it into the next Halo game? So if you didn't play Halo Wars 2, you didn't watch the ending, a big theory that is going about is that the Halo Wars 2 ending and Halo 5 ending are linked together in some way. So presumably that means that the two stories are going to kind of converge in Halo 6 or whatever they decide to call it. Now, obviously in the Awakening, the Nightmare DLC, Atriox is very close to the flood. You know, some of his brutes were actually infected themselves. So if Atriox is, you know, making his way into the next Halo game in some way, which I personally would love to see. I think Atriox is one of my favorite villains or evil characters in the Halo series of all time. He's just a badass. But if he makes his way into Halo 6, then that also means that the flood will probably follow him, as during the Awakening the Nightmare DLC, we saw him right next to the flood. So that could be a way for them to kind of make their way back into the mainline Halo stories, but we're gonna have to wait and see, because obviously we've heard nothing about Halo 6. We have no idea what the direction is or anything, so E3 will be a big time for all of us. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping for the best here. Well, obviously if the flood do return, they'll be in the campaign. There is no way they wouldn't be, but I would love to see it go farther than that and them actually appear in the multiplayer as well. For example, Flood Firefight I think would be potentially very, very awesome. I think that'll be super, super cool to fight them in Firefight. As well as that, if Warzone does return, then Warzone 2.0, you could have a special Flood Warzone variant. You know, instead of just having a Promethean or, you know, Covenant map, you could have a Warzone map completely flood infested, so the only enemies are flood. Maybe elites that are infected, or a Promethean flood variant. I don't know if that's even possible, but that would be badass. So that's just something I've been thinking about, of how they could not only be in the campaign but the multiplayer as well. But I want you guys to leave comments down below with suggestions yourselves on how we could see the flood in the multiplayer of future Halo games. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Hopefully you agreed with some of my points. If you did, make sure you drop a like on the video. If you have any comment about anything I mentioned, make sure you let me know down below, as I love reading your comments, and hopefully you enjoy these discussion type videos. I'll be sure to do more of them in the future, because as we have less news and information about Halo when Halo 5 gets older, I have to start thinking of different type of Halo videos. So I think these are right up my alley. So if you enjoyed, make sure you hit subscribe if you're brand new, and just show your love down below as you always do. But thanks for watching, everyone. Love you all, and I'll see you next time. Ugh, I feel a bit weird. That flood form, I feel like it maybe dug into me a little bit more than I would have liked.